So before we can draw to learn something, we first have to be able to see it. We have to be able to see it in order to draw it. So I want you to look at the map of Africa. There's a map of Africa here. We've looked at world maps a bit. We've talked about the world and the different continents. I want you to find Africa. So here's Africa here. And we're going to find the basic drawing steps in Africa. So while we're looking at the world, we're going to focus on Africa. First, I'm going to find that big old C. There's the big old C. Now, from the north of the big old C, we'll have to find, here's the north. I see the line, the small step down, the slide, and the small step up. And then the other line. So that's the next part of the shape. From the south, next is my backwards check. So this part of Africa kind of looks like a check mark, but it's backwards. And now, from the south of the big old C, there's a McDonald's M. So I'm going to find my big old C. I'm going to find that M, and it's curvy, like the M you see at McDonald's. And so there's the big old C. There's the big old M. And now, from the big old M, from the M, I see the letter U here when I smooth out the edges. It's a big old letter U, and it's actually lopsided because this side is higher than this side on the left. The right goes up higher than the left. And so for my U shape, my U is lopsided. And then I have the little car shape. Let's switch to the pencil. Like so. And that's Africa. So I'm looking at Africa and I'm visualizing it. Now, look at how much of Africa is in each hemisphere of Earth. So, of course, I have my prime meridian and the equator. And I'm going to take each section, one section at a time. Okay? In the northwest hemisphere, there's the big old C. In the northeast hemisphere, I have quite a bit of Africa. Okay, I have the part where I make the line, small step down, slide, small step up, and then the other line, and the backwards check, as well as a part of the lopsided U, and even the McDonald's M. And now, in the southwest hemisphere, if I cover up the rest, there's no part of Africa there. There might be some tiny little islands there, but there's no part of continental Africa there. Nothing that I can see. And then here, in the southeast hemisphere, I have the lopsided U. I have most of that lopsided U, and I also have the little car shape. Okay, so we've looked at how much of Africa is in each hemisphere of Earth. And this is important because when we learn something, when we draw something, we have to be able to visualize it. So we have to know how much of Africa is in each one. So is Africa about half and half on each side of the prime meridian? Well, no, it's not. If I look on the west, in the western hemisphere, there's that much of Africa. But if I look in the eastern hemisphere, that orange portion is much greater. Than the purple portion. And so no, Africa is not about half and half on each side of the prime meridian. there is more of Africa in the eastern hemisphere than in the western hemisphere. Okay, so now the next question is Africa about half and half on each side of the equator? Now my equator separates the north from the south. And so when I look at the equator and I compare the portion in the orange, the purple and the orange, and I compare it to how much of Africa there is here in yellow, well, height-wise, it's about the same. Height-wise, there's more because the orange and the purple part are north of the equator. But it's about the same length. And so it's important to take the time and notice those things. See, there's about that much. And about that much there. So Africa is distributed more, it's closer to being evenly distributed between the north and the south than it is being distributed among the west and the east. So those are just some things that are important to notice so that we can start seeing the shape of Africa properly. Okay? And again, here I have another picture, a different picture, but I should find that the proportions, a different map, but I should find that the proportions are the same. There's my big old C. There's the line, the small step down, the slide, the small step up, and the line. There's the backwards check. There's the McDonald's M. And there's my lopsided U. So the basic shape of Africa is going to be the same. So here, I want you to practice drawing in the equator and the prime meridian. When you think, here's a map of Africa already. So would the equator go, is the equator down here? No, I know it's about half and half, and it's right after that McDonald's M. So I find the McDonald's M here. I find that M shape. Okay. And about there is where I would find the equator. And so I'm going to draw in a dashed line right through there. It's not perfect, and it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. There's the equator. Now for the prime meridian, I need to find my big old C shape. And so I visually find it. And that pretty much gives me a close approximation for where the prime meridian would go. Again, it's not perfect. Let's see. I'm going to go back to my reference. How does the prime meridian cross in with that big M? With the McDonald's M? Well, the McDonald's M is over here. And so I'm going to use the McDonald's M again as my guide for where I'm going to draw on the prime meridian. Needs to go about right there. So I'm actually going to move that line over. And so there's the prime meridian. I'm going to use my McDonald's M as a guide. I find the McDonald's M. I can dash in my prime meridian right around there. There's the prime meridian. And then the equator. Well, the equator, there's the bottom of my McDonald's M. And so the equator is right around there. Oh, I need to label my prime meridian. And I'm going to label my equator EQ. See you in the next part.